That was a more satisfying experience for me than scoring the winning goal in the Stanley Cup finals for the Montreal Canadiens.
Some names in hockey echo across generations, not just for what they did on the ice, but for the way they shaped the game itself. Bobby Smith is one of those names. As a kid in Ottawa, he dreamed not of the NHL, but of wearing the jersey of his hometown Ottawa 67s. He achieved that dream, becoming part of the first 67s team to win an OHL championship and earn a shot at the Memorial Cup. They came heartbreakingly close, just one goal shy of glory, and that near miss would stay with him for the rest of his career. Fast forward decades later, and Smith found himself back in junior hockey, not as a player, but as the owner of the Halifax Mooseheads. In 2013, his Mooseheads didn't just chase the Memorial Cup, they captured it. And for Smith, building that team and watching them lift the trophy was more satisfying than even scoring the Stanley Cup winning goal for the Montreal Canadiens. In this special Hall of Fame edition of the HockeyDocs Podcast, you'll hear Bobby Smith reflect on his unique hockey journey, from boyhood dreams in Ottawa to NHL stardom, to assembling one of the most talented and selfless junior teams in CHL history. It's a conversation about legacy, rare opportunities, and why the Memorial Cup holds a special place in his heart, unlike any other trophy.
When did you first even know of the Memorial Cup? When did that mix?
Well, I was 9 years old in Ottawa when the Ottawa 67s started playing, and very early in the 67s' existence, they hosted the Memorial Cup. So I was aware, they did not play in it that year, but I was aware of the Memorial Cup from a very young age.
And then to get a chance to play in your hometown for the 67s, tell me a little bit about that experience for you.
Well, it was terrific. A kid growing up in Ottawa, I think Dennis Potvin really opened our eyes to the possibility that kids from Ottawa could play major junior hockey. Kids from Ottawa could play in the NHL. And I used to watch the 67s when I was a kid, and you didn't think about playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs or the Montreal Canadiens. You thought of maybe one day being good enough to play for the Ottawa 67s. And so I did play for them, and it was a huge thrill in my career to be a member of the first 67s team to win the Ontario League Championship and play in the Memorial Cup.
And tell me a little bit about that experience. You guys... So that was your second year, so still kind of a young guy, but a chance to win the OHL championship. And you kind of go through the series, you play against your league, and then off to this kind of strange tournament. Were you guys in Vancouver? Or?
Yes, we played in Vancouver. Sherbrooke represented the Quebec League. There was no host team then, but as it turned out, New Westminster Bruins were the representatives from the WHL. And we lost a heartbreaking 6-5 game in the final. Future teammate of mine, Brad Maxwell, scored the winning goal with a couple of minutes left in the game. And I can honestly say that it is one of the few regrets I have in my entire career, because I got one shot at it. We were within a hair's breadth of winning it, and we did not.
Do you think as a 17 or 18-year-old, would you have had the perspective then at what a unique opportunity that was, that you may never get another chance to?
Oh, we certainly understood that. Yeah. When you understood. It seemed to me, playing with the 67s, that the Toronto Marlies were always such a powerhouse, and how were we going to be able to beat that team from Toronto? Well, year two, we were the best team in our league. But you knew that this was not something you were going to get a crack at every time, and particularly we had a bunch of graduating players on that team. I had one more year of junior left, but it was devastating.
Fast forward, you now get back into the Canadian Hockey League as an owner with the Halifax Mooseheads. You guys had some opportunities, you had some great teams, but you did have that one team that did get to the Memorial Cup and won the Memorial Cup. As the owner of that team, as someone that helped build that team, what was that like for you?
That was a more satisfying experience for me than scoring the winning goal in the Stanley Cup finals for the Montreal Canadiens. It was to build a team and to see it come together, and to see your young players, and some of them Halifax natives, and to have such a special group with players, our two top players picked first and third overall in the NHL draft, and still knowing that you might never get this chance again. There's 60 teams chasing this trophy, and to win that, it was it was a thrill from my standpoint, but from the owner's standpoint, I was happy for everybody else in the organization as well, the players, our coaches, our manager who built that team, and it was a unique thrill.
You were an Ontario Hockey League champion, a Stanley Cup champion. What was it about that team that made them champions?
Well, it was an extremely talented team, there's no question about that. But it was a selfless team as well. I mean, those guys were good teammates, and our best players were good teammates. You know, it makes me laugh to think of the 20-year-olds as the older guys, but the 20-year-olds were great leaders and good players, and they understood the special team they were and the special opportunity they had. And when we had to win the big games, we won the big games.
Some of the greatest players that have played this game that played junior hockey did not get a chance to win the Memorial Cup. You were as close as any of them. I guess Cindy was about as close as you were as well. Is there something you can say about that about what that it's not necessarily the best player that wins that?
No, it's not, and it's as in anything. Well, it's unique because you only get limited chances at it. You know, I played in the Stanley Cup Finals when I was 23, lost. 10 years later, I had another chance at it. You don't get another chance 10 years later for the Memorial Cup. And, it's a great chance. And I know a lot of great NHL players wish they had won the Memorial Cup, no matter how many accolades and trophies and Stanley Cups they won as pros. It's a very special trophy to win, and to bring it back to Halifax, or to bring it back to Red Deer, or to bring it back to Guelph. It's a fantastic thing.
And I want to ask you a bit about that, bringing the Memorial Cup back home to Halifax. What was that like for you?
It was tremendous to see how meaningful it was to so many people. This franchise has been around it'll be 25 years this year. And we have some fans who connect uniquely with a junior hockey team, and closely with a junior hockey team, that you can never connect with a professional team, because you can get so close to the players, and the players aren't yet surrounded by their entourages and their agents and their financial advisors, and it's a different kind of feel, and I've been around hockey long enough to realize it and appreciate it.
The last thing I want to ask you, just a bit about a little different topic, but in the Ontario Hockey League, you're still a record holder. The Scholastic Player of the Year trophy is named in your honor. Every year it's presented. Can you tell me a little bit about what playing in the Canadian Hockey League, Ontario Hockey League, what did that mean for you in your career?
Well, as a hockey player, I've said many times, I got to the Ottawa 67s and I played hockey. And 3 years later, I was a hockey player. And they are huge differences. And lifelong friendships from that group of guys, learned discipline, learned time management, learned how to be a good teammate, and thoroughly enjoyed it. And as far as the Bobby Smith Award, it's something I'm extremely proud of. You know, it's a unique thing, and education was very important to my parents, who were raised during the Depression in Cape Breton. And they drummed it into their kids that they were gonna get an education. And I went back to university when I was 35 years old, and finished an undergrad degree and an MBA. And I'm immensely proud that every year the Ontario League gives out the Bobby Smith Award.